I started pre-K this year with my 4-year-old. So let's get into how it's going, what curriculums I'm using, what I've learned, what I'm taking out, what I'm keeping. A lot of people have been asking me, are you doing formal work? Are you having him sit down? Is he just learning through play still? Like, how's it going? So let's just dive into it. If you're new here, my name is Kendall, and I post all things motherhood, single motherhood, homeschooling, location freedom, and getting our finances together. So let's get into homeschool. Briefly, why I started. My daughter asked to be homeschooled, so I'm just like, after learning and going through the motions with her, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to send my son to school either. He's just going to be homeschooled. Mind you, they are 12 years apart, so there is a significant gap in what they're learning and how they're learning. So if you guys are interested in what my high schooler is doing as far as curriculums and schoolwork, drop some comments below. I will be happy to dive into that because that's just a whole nother thing in itself. Back to him. So he's 4 now. He actually missed the cutoff for pre-K this year. I was just looking around, just curious, just to see if he would have been starting pre-K this year. And it just solidified my choice even more because he wouldn't have been starting school. So they changed the age in North Carolina for when you're starting school. And him turning 4 in September, he had just missed the cutoff. So he would have been starting pre-K next year. And I've already been, doing things with him, working with him. I can see it now. He's going to go to pre-K next year and he's going to be bored because he's already, past that level of work. And then what comes next. When the kids are bored, they're not listening, they're not sitting down because they're already, they need more challenging work. You know what comes next. So I'm not having it. So I'm like, we're going to start pre-K this year, regardless of if he's supposedly not ready. The first 3 years he did, of course, a lot of learn through play, like playing. They say the kids don't need to sit down and do formal work. A lot of studies that I've read say they really don't need to sit down and do formal work till like about 7. I think that's why most schools don't start until they're 7 years old. Like kindergarten is not mandatory. Pre-K is not mandatory. I think it's one of those things where, people have to go back to work. So they have to, I think it was created so that now we have somewhere for the kids to go. So if you don't have to put your kids in pre-K, you don't have to put your kids in kindergarten. You really don't have to. I know it varies by state. Some states is 6 years old. Some states is 7. Here in North Carolina is 7. So technically I don't have to register him with the state of being quote unquote homeschooled. But of course we're going to do our own work and our own curriculum and, get some things done. So I got a couple. When he was 3 years old, I had purchased the playing preschool curriculum for him. And we kind of used it off and on. Like I wasn't too strict about using it. I like the playing preschool curriculum because they introduce letter sounds. So every 2 weeks you have a new letter. You're learning the letter sounds. You're learning how to recognize the letter. And learning the letter sounds is good for phonics. It's good for learning how to read. So you can't skip just knowing what the letter is, but not knowing how it sounds is not going to help a child on their reading journey. So that's why I like the playing preschool. And then it gives you a lot of fun activities to do with the kids for 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks you have a theme. Like the first week was apples. They have like transportation and water. So every 2 weeks there's a different theme. There's a book list that goes with the theme. And then there's letters. And then they actually also give you printables, like letters that you can print out for each section that you're on. So we didn't really do playing preschool too much for year 3, but I'm like, oh, let's go back through playing preschool because I want to say we did like maybe 3 weeks of playing preschool. We did like 3 weeks of playing preschool. We wasn't too, we was more relaxed with that. I think we got through like 3 letters, but as we're going back through playing preschool this year, I've went back over those letters, just like, ask them, hey, what sound does the R make? And he retained that information. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like we don't need to go back over those 3 chapters that we already did because he retained the information. So I just jumped right back in to where we stopped with playing preschool. That curriculum was about $30. And I know they do sales throughout the year. I'm not sure what, like, I can't tell you off the top of my head, like if it's the end of the year sale or a beginning of the year sale, but I know it's like $29 or so when they have it on sale. And so we're doing Play and Preschool year 1. They also have year 2. And I remember the ages being like very close in age. So I was kind of confused on if I should get year 1 or year 2, but year 1 was perfect for him. I liked where it started. That's what we're doing. I'm tying Play and Preschool into all of the other curriculums that we have. For social studies, I'm not using any formal curriculum. We are just learning about where we are in the world. We're learning about maps. We're learning about where we are, what state we live in, what's our address. The basics. Who do you call if someone's in trouble or needs hurt? Who's your grandparents? What's their names? Like, all the basic stuff that kids should know. That's what we're going over. So I broke it down into units. Creating a little calendar for myself has really helped, because before I was so disorganized. I would just wake up for the day. This is what we're doing. Let's get through this. If we're going to do this, this is what we're going to do. Matter of fact, we're not doing this. We're going outside for the day. I was much more relaxed. But as we're leaning into going into kindergarten, since it is March and, we're going into kindergarten, I want to get more of a hold on our schedule. So I've actually started creating like a weekly lesson plan for the week, what we're going to cover, what I plan to get through, so that we're staying on top of where we're going. Also for social studies, I try to tie in, I haven't yet, but I want to start doing like different countries. I think first we're just going to get through the regions, the South, the West, all the places of the United States. Then we'll move on to countries. But I really want him to get a grasp on the information of where we are right now. For science, I got 2 curriculums. So there's a homeschool store near me. Check and see if there's a homeschool store near you where you can buy and sell curriculum. So once you're done with the curriculum, you can actually sell it back. It's kind of like a consignment. They also have stuff that is new, so you don't have to buy used. But I try to find used if I can, because why not? Especially if I'm just going to sell it back. I'm not going to use it. I don't plan on having any more kids that's going to need these curriculums. So we use them, we get rid of them. This is our first year, so I can't say that we do use them and get rid of them, but that is what I plan on doing. For science, I actually went with the good and the beautiful. I didn't get their whole curriculum because we don't really do like religious curriculum. I know a lot of homeschoolers are religious. We don't do the religious aspect, so I didn't really go with the whole curriculum. And as I was reading, they say like the reading component and the math is not really that good for the good and the beautiful. That's just the reviews I was seeing. So I went with the science. They have wind and waves, and they have, I'm looking at it. You keep seeing me look down. Wind and waves and field and flowers. So my plan was, I got these back in September, October. My plan was to get through one book. I wanted to get through wind and waves through the winter, because it goes through like, a lot of the snow, rainbows, storms, all that stuff. And then field and flowers, I wanted to start for spring. Of course, we are behind, and we are not even halfway through wind and waves. But that's because this is wind and waves. That's because for December, we took a whole month off. I do homeschool year round. So I actually give the kids breaks throughout the year, and more so my daughter, because my son, again, he's just in pre-K. It's nothing too stressful, nothing too serious. So I give her breaks throughout the year. So December was just a whole month off break, and she got back into it in January. So being away from the house, I don't take our books with us. If I do take books, it's going to be math, and it's the reading books. I don't take any like science, because we're not doing any projects while we're, not in the house. So that's why we fell a little bit behind with wind and waves, but I'm hoping we can get this done before we move on to kindergarten type science, if that makes sense. If it doesn't, if we don't, because again, these books it's not too strict on the age. Like, a lot of homeschoolers don't really do grades as it is. So it's not too strict on the age. If you get through it when he's 5, we get through it when he's 5. We're doing it when he's 4. We're doing it when he's 4. Next, we have our reading. I'm so excited about pre-reading and learning our letter sounds. Like I said, so I love that Play and Preschool has learning the letter sounds, and then I incorporate that with all about reading. So that's what we're doing, all about reading, pre-reading. I thought it was called PreK. but it's just called pre-reading. I could have swore this was PreK. Maybe they have all about reading 1. Maybe that's what the next one is called. So I really like this curriculum because it's focusing on like the 5 components of being able to start reading. So that's phonics, print awareness, letter knowledge, listening comprehension, and just wanting to read. So part of the curriculum, you read every day. Right now it's focusing a lot on rhyming words. So that's what we're learning about, is words that rhyme. And then there's also different activities to do with the letter of the week. So with this, they just have lessons, but it doesn't really have a timeline for the lesson. So what I do is I break it down by the week. So we focus on one thing for the week. I don't do it every day, if that makes sense. Like I don't do one lesson a day. I take one lesson and I break it down and we do it for the whole entire week. Then there's activities to do with the letter. So it's more emphasis again on letters, which I like. And they come with these cards, little flash cards for each lesson. So I really like that. For math, my favorite, my son is in love with numbers. He is numbers down, like he's counting to 1,000 and beyond. So I really wanted to get a jump start on math because I'm like, we're not going to sit here and wait for math. So I went with the dimensions from Singapore Math. So we're doing PKA. These are broken down into 2 parts. So there's a PKB, and it's meant to do half the year PKA. Then we'll do the rest of the half PKB. So I love this. I was going to start with kindergarten, but I'm like, no, let me just start with PK just to make sure there's some concepts that I'm not missing. And I'm glad I did, because they're going through like stuff that I didn't even think of, like biggest, bigger, all those things, comparing objects. Right now we're on pattern. So I'm really enjoying this. He likes it. It comes also with a teacher guide, and it comes with a workbook. So that is what we're doing right now. So we have math, science, social studies, and reading. Not focused on handwriting too much right now. I read somewhere that their hands are still developing, but we are practicing writing our name. We're drawing lines. Like in the PK book, we have to draw lines from, match the toy to the bin. So we're drawing lines. We're practicing those things. But handwriting, I guess we'll get into more as kindergarten comes in. We always go outside for free play. I try to do 2 outings a week, whether that's with a group or by ourselves. And we also go for walks daily, weather permitting. So that's how I run my school day. That's how I run my school year. All year round school. Couple curriculums. Of course, you don't have to use curriculums. There are some free resources. There are also online programs if you just don't want to do anything. But I kind of want to be hands-on until he gets maybe to like a higher grade, like how my daughter is doing. Again, if you have any questions about high school curriculum or maybe even middle school curriculum, let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to make another video about that. Make sure you subscribe for more homeschool videos, more finance videos, more single motherhood, and living life on our terms, homeschooling our kids, living a life of freedom, and not being stuck to one place. Thanks for watching.